She later expressed that it provided her with a greater sense of purpose than any of her gallery openings had previously offered. And my father expressed a desire to learn the business, not as a parent seeking to regain authority, but as an eager student. This time, he sought to comprehend the structure I had developed. Half a year later, I found myself in my Alder Street apartment. Indeed, I have retained it. Evaluating the latest quarterly reports. Ashcroft Plaza was flourishing. The leases remained stable. Tenant satisfaction has increased. Small retailers on the ground floor were achieving substantial profits. A knock interrupted my concentration. I opened the door to discover my mother standing there. She was dressed in jeans and opted for a natural look without makeup. I needed a moment to comprehend the informality. "I received your invitation," she remarked, displaying it. "A courtyard holiday party," I acknowledged. "It's not exactly your usual environment." "No," she conceded, surveying my humble surroundings. "But I'm beginning to understand that perhaps environment isn't everything." She lifted a photograph of me at 23, radiating joy at my real estate license ceremony. "I never inquired," she continued. "What motivated you to choose this path?" "I aim to create something substantial," I responded. "It is not merely about acquisition and display." She spoke softly, acknowledging the influence one can wield. "Indeed," I affirmed. "However, the objective transcends control. It is about purpose," she stated with sincerity. "Will you guide me?" I invited her to join me this evening. Engage with the families who have resided here for generations. Pay attention, for that is where legacy is established. Later, I found myself by the window, observing the lights shimmering across Portland. This city has become my own. Ashcroft Plaza illuminated the skyline ahead. It stands not as a testament to avarice, but as an emblem of renewal. Below, the Alder Street building thrived with subtle activity. The brickwork, original wooden beams, and garden courtyards have been meticulously maintained. My phone chimed with incoming messages, partnership proposals, speaking engagements, and acquisition opportunities. Westpine Holdings is currently experiencing significant demand. However, I maintain a balanced schedule and a grounded routine. For me, success is not defined by surpassing my previous achievements, but rather by creating something meaningful and enduring. Occasionally, the individual who is viewed with pity becomes a source of valuable lessons. Moreover, true triumph often lies in resilience rather than in loud declarations. A week later at the Alder Street holiday party, I stood by the garden fountain, observing my family adapt to an environment they had previously overlooked. My mother sat next to Mrs. Lopez, a tenant of 38 years, engaging in conversation with sincere interest. Preston assisted Mr. Keller, a World War II veteran and the longest-term resident, in stringing lights. Cassandra shared laughter with a group of children decorating sugar cookies. Gradually, they were gaining insight. True wealth lies not in what can be displayed, but in what is preserved, shared, and uplifted. My father approached me by the cocoa table. "Your great-grandfather believed that buildings should provide shelter for hearts, not merely for wallets," he remarked. I acknowledged his words. I discovered his old ledgers, filled with handwritten notes regarding the protection of tenants. We seem to have overlooked that principle. He regarded me not as a daughter who had strayed, but as an individual who had taken up the mantle he had relinquished. "You could have jeopardized our future." "That was never my intention," I replied, observing a young girl spinning beneath the fairy lights. "My aspiration was to create something enduring." Often, true success lies not in refuting their doubts. It involves providing them with an improved understanding of what is right. If you have ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or quietly dismissed, you may find a reflection of yourself in my journey. My intention was never to disprove anyone. Rather, I aimed to create something authentic, something enduring, grounded in principles rather than superficiality. If my story resonated with you, I would appreciate your feedback. Please share your thoughts in the comments. How would you have approached my situation? What have you accomplished quietly while others may have doubted you? I invite you to engage in this conversation. Let us acknowledge the effort behind the scenes, the late nights, and the difficult decisions. If you find yourself in a moment where expectations are low, focus not on raising your voice, but on strengthening your foundation. Initiating your journey requires neither approval nor validation. What you truly need is a clear purpose and unwavering consistency. The subsequent achievements will naturally follow. Enhance this experience by subscribing to the channel, where you will find more narratives centered on resilience, redemption, and the redefinition of success according to your own standards. Remember, legacy is not merely an inheritance, it is a creation. Often, the most powerful response is to rise above rather than seek revenge. It is transforming into the individual they claimed you could never become. Therefore, I invite you to subscribe, remain engaged, and together, let us create something enduring. Tomorrow, I will present myself in the manner that the Hales anticipate. They remain unaware that I have been orchestrating events from behind the scenes. If you have been supporting Norah from the outset, ensure you witness the unfolding events when the boardroom doors open. Subscribe to the channel to be among the first to observe the family's response upon discovering that the individual they overlooked now possesses significant influence. The following morning, I found myself in my office, situated on an entire penthouse floor with a view of downtown Portland, ready for the moment I had meticulously planned for over a year. My assistant, Isla, entered with purpose, placing a cappuccino next to my laptop. "The Ashcraft Plaza board is already seated," she informed me. "Your family arrived early, attempting to engage the independent members." I couldn't help but smirk at the thought of Preston and Cassandra navigating the room with urgency. "All audit packets have been printed and distributed. The forensic team has revealed even more than anticipated." She paused. "Are you certain you want to proceed with this? Once they are aware, there is no turning back." "They must understand," I remarked softly, "that legacy does not grant permission to misuse authority." I glanced at the glass, observing my reflection. The jeans and cardigan were a thing of the past. Today, I donned a deep navy Altasara suit. Crisp lines, subtle strength. The type of attire Aunt Evelyn envisioned I would wear when meeting a partner. Instead, I would utilize it to dismantle their house of cards. "The ownership announcement goes live in 20 minutes, Isla stated. "Once it is released, your identity will be revealed." "Then let us commence," I replied, retrieving my briefcase. The boardroom at Ashcraft Plaza fell silent as I made my entrance. My family was gathered at the far end, appearing uneasy, inadequately dressed, and noticeably shaken. "Who are you?" Preston inquired sharply. "This is a private meeting." I placed my briefcase at the head of the table with composure. "I'm Norah Hale," I introduced myself. "I am the founder and sole owner of Westpine Holdings, the entity that owns this building as well as several others that your family has leveraged inappropriately." Evelyn's complexion drained of color. Cassandra opened her mouth, yet no sound emerged. My father's grip on his pen became more pronounced. "Norah," he said softly. I acknowledged with a nod. "Good morning." I opened the briefcase and started to distribute the audit reports across the table. "Would you like to discuss your financials? This situation is quite extraordinary." Preston hesitated in his speech. "What exactly are you referring to?" I inquired. "The individual who stands apart, the tenant, the woman dressed in consignment attire." Cassandra blinked with a moment of surprise. "However, you present apartments." "I am engaged in professional activities." I stated it clearly. "I have created something substantial with a commitment to integrity. This is not an illusion." The board observed in disbelief as the esteemed Hale family gradually revealed their complexities, one page at a time. The folders contained comprehensive documentation of each instance of misused funds, inflated invoices, and falsified receipts. There have been reports concerning financial irregularities related to the accounts of Ashcraft Plaza. I have commenced the distribution of the final set of documents. Preston, could you please clarify the $2 million allocated for roof repairs that funded your Jackson Hole property? He turned red so quickly and intensely that I was concerned he might faint. "Or Cassandra," I proceeded, turning to the next page. "We would appreciate it if you could provide an overview of your husband's invoices, which appear to reflect charges significantly above the market rate for standard plumbing services. You would expose your own family's issues in such a manner?" Aunt Evelyn exclaimed in disbelief. "No," I specified evenly. "You expressed your thoughts clearly. I am ensuring that it is properly cleaned." Father finally articulated, his voice subdued and imploring. "Norah, we can provide clarification." "Text, I advise against it," I stated, raising a hand. "I have observed this family approach our great-grandfather's legacy as if it were a personal financial resource. While you ridiculed my perceived humble existence, I was diligently constructing something of greater significance based on principles rather than superficiality. Could you please clarify the reason?" Cassandra inquired, appearing somewhat bewildered. "Why act as if you're facing difficulties?" "I didn't act at all," I responded. "I maintained a modest lifestyle. I made prudent investments." "You believed that affluence needed to be ostentatious." "The Alder Street building," Preston remarked, taken aback. "Do you actually reside there?" "I own the property," I clarified, "and the majority of the block. Furthermore, I will not be demolishing it because some of us prioritize the well-being of individuals, not solely financial returns." At that moment, phones around the table buzzed. A board member glanced up, referring to his screen. Westpine Holdings announces the identity of its CEO. Norah Hale, a unique member of the Hale family, has been confirmed as the owner of a $2 billion real estate portfolio. Accidentally dropped her phone. She remarked that she is ranked among the leading ethical developers. Preservation of historic sites and safeguarding tenant rights. "This will have serious consequences for us," Cassandra whispered. Lacking color. I firmly stated, "No. This will prevent you from making mistakes." Effective immediately, Ashcraftoft Plaza will implement transparent operations. Eliminate any deceptive practices. Elimination of sweetheart contracts is necessary. Preston attempted to convey confidence, yet his voice revealed a hint of uncertainty. He offered a smile. "I will forward these reports to the appropriate authorities. I am confident that the IRS would consider them informative." The silence deepened. "What is your request?" My father has finally inquired. "Please keep in mind the significance of the Hale name prior to these events." I engaged each of their gazes individually. My great-grandfather focused on building communities rather than merely pursuing profit margins, as I organized my papers. "There is an option available to you. Collaborate with me to revive that legacy," I stated calmly. "Alternatively, consider seeking another residence. I have heard that there are some attractive rental properties available in Lake Otsego." I proceed to exit. "Norah, please hold on a moment." My father's voice halted me just as I approached the door. "I was mistaken in my assessment of you." "Indeed," I responded in a subdued manner. "Were you?" The aftermath unfolded in a manner reminiscent of a corporate narrative. The media was captivated by the discreet strategies of Portland, who had quietly established a real estate empire and challenged her family's misconceptions in a single board meeting. Aunt Evelyn stepped down from 3 local boards, feeling too embarrassed to appear in public. Cassandra's husband's firm ceased operations shortly after the audit was published, yet there were some positive aspects to consider. Detained. After confronting significant consequences, Cassandra enrolled in a public university's real estate program and began volunteering at a transitional housing shelter in the downtown area. The Ashcraftoft family's monthly dinners focused more on showcasing financial status than on the culinary experience. This evening at the expansive estate outside Napa Valley is expected to be particularly challenging. I settled into my customary position by the fireplace, attentively watching as my cousins engaged in a contest of boasting. "Just acquired a ranch in Jackson Hole," Preston remarked, swirling his wine with a casual air. "Adjacent to the individual who possesses a significant portion of Silicon Valley," Cassandra remarked, opening her designer clutch with a flourish. "We have successfully finalized the acquisition of a vineyard in Tuscany. Exclusive access to the Mediterranean. The value of such a view is truly immeasurable." I concealed my smile behind my glass of iced tea. "If only they were aware, Norah." Aunt Evelyn's voice resonated firmly across the table. "Your silence has been quite noticeable." Preston leaned in, his insincere concern evident. "We would like to inquire about your current living situation." And there it stood. "Could you provide more details regarding this matter?" I responded, placing my glass down. "This compact duplex in Portland," he stated. "Are you still in a rental situation?" "The one located on Alder Street," Cassandra remarked, feigning surprise. I was unaware that individuals in our demographic still engage in renting. I almost found it amusing. The Alder Street complex represented our inaugural commercial acquisition under Westpine Holdings. In their eyes, I was merely a tenant facing challenges. I was, in fact, the owner. "I appreciate the space," I stated calmly. "You are 35 years old," Evelyn remarked with a condescending smile. "It's time to mature. Invest in something substantial." Substantial? Consider a $1.8 billion portfolio of multifamily buildings, commercial towers, and yes, Ashcraft Plaza. The very property they acquired 6 months ago. I obtained it discreetly through a private equity arm that would never be traced back to me. "I have been managing quite well," I responded. Preston gave a smirk. "You can't even afford a mortgage." I reclined and allowed them to converse, knowing that soon the lease renewal would arrive on their desks, and my name would be on the letterhead. Dad finally looked up from his wine glass. Now, Preston, not everyone possesses your keen instincts." Norah made her decision. Aunt Evelyn interjected with a sigh, as if I had let them down by not pursuing a career as a hedge fund manager or a lifestyle blogger. They assumed I spent my days presenting modest apartments to financially struggling graduate students, barely making ends meet on commission. What they were unaware of was that Norah Hale, perceived as the family underachiever, was also Westpine Holdings, the discreet firm that has been acquiring commercial and residential properties across the Pacific Northwest for the past decade. In the context of real estate, Cassandra remarked with enthusiasm, "Have you been informed about the developments on Alder Street? A firm has acquired the entire block. They plan to demolish everything," she noted with feigned sympathy. "It seems that your apartment will soon be no more." I maintained a composed demeanor. I was the buyer, and I had no intention of demolishing anything. The Alder Street complex was a remarkable find, featuring brick facades, vintage detailing, and rent protections for families who had resided there for decades. I was engaged in a historically respectful renovation. "Really?" I inquired, having not heard. "Well, of course not," Preston replied with a smirk. "Deals of that magnitude are far beyond your capabilities." "If you find yourself in a difficult situation," Evelyn remarked cheerfully, "you can always return to the guest house. We will assist you in discovering a more esteemed option. Perhaps even someone of good standing." "I am content," I replied matter-of-factly. "And my landlord shares that sentiment." Cassandra offered a constrained laugh. "One cannot remain in a limited existence indefinitely, my dear. Hale once held significance in this state. It occurred, albeit not in the manner they anticipated. In real estate circles, Westpine represented a commitment to ethical growth and a focus on tenant-first investing. The contrast to my cousin's ostentatious projects that disrupted communities for recognition. "Indeed," Father remarked, placing his glass down. "This meeting is partially focused on business matters. The board has expressed concerns regarding the new owner of Ashcraft Plaza." I inclined my head. "Westpine Holdings acquired a majority stake 6 months prior," he stated. "Their identities remain unknown to all. A potential foreign investor." Preston acknowledged with a nod. "It is necessary. These influential individuals have a strong appreciation for legacy properties. If only they were aware that their dreaded mystery investor was present right here, dressed in a thrifted cardigan and scuffed boots." Dad continued, "They're posing challenging inquiries, particularly regarding our accounting methods, such as the instance where Preston utilized funds from the building account to support his Jackson Hole retreat, or how Cassandra categorized her luxury handbags as client engagement expenses." "I am confident it's nothing significant," Aunt Evelyn remarked, her pearls shifting with apprehension. "The Hale name continues to hold significance." "That is precisely the point," Father interjected. "This individual from Westpine appears to be unimpressed by titles. A comprehensive audit has been requested." I observed the change manifest on their faces. Concern subtly masked by polished expressions. An audit would reveal more than merely questionable expenses. It would significantly expose their entire strategy. "Perhaps Norah could assist," Cassandra suggested abruptly, her tone sweetened. "She is employed in the real estate sector, correct? Perhaps she has connections within the management company." In that moment, all eyes shifted to me. Just like that, I transitioned from being an embarrassment to someone of potential value. I primarily engage with smaller residential clients, I stated with confidence. Nothing compares to the magnitude of Ashcraft Plaza. For heaven's sake, Preston exclaimed. You can't even assist your own family. Mom shot him a warning look, but her silence conveyed a great deal. Even Dad returned to scrolling, seemingly indifferent to defending me. They were unaware of the assistance I was poised to provide, albeit not in the manner they anticipated. Tomorrow morning, Westpine Holdings would issue a public statement. Effective immediately, Ashcraft Plaza will implement significant operational reforms. There will be no more shadow budgets. No more nepotistic contracts. No more treating the building as if it were a personal credit card. I surveyed the penthouse. Artwork purchased with maintenance funds. Couches priced at 3 times their listed value. Fixtures installed by Cassandra's husband's firm with inflated invoices. As I stood up and brushed off my jeans, I remarked, "Some of us have early mornings." Cassandra smirked in response. "Off to show more rent-controlled studios," I added, slinging my worn leather bag over my shoulder. Inside were the board briefing documents, legal filings, and renovation proposals valued higher than anything present in the room. "No, Norah," Aunt Evelyn called out in a gentle tone. "In the future, consider dressing in a manner that reflects professionalism. Appearances are significant." I smiled. "Please rest assured," I stated,